Good day, everybody. Rob here at WesternPacificWeather.com, and it's the 16th of January 2011, radar 03 Zulu for those of you worldwide and actually looking at the southern hemisphere right now. If you're looking for an update on the northern hemisphere and the northwest, just click on the time here shown below. I'm going to have that update later on in this one, but right now, looking at our tropical cyclone out there, tropical cyclone Zelia, it's moving towards the southeast, actually going to be moving just south of New Caledonia. Current sustained winds right around 80 knots and a very well-defined eye in the located in the center of that system right now. Also, I have the leftovers of a Vania down here, basically just kind of spinning off. The storm's actually following into that trough right here, as this one just spins off just east of Australia and northwest New Zealand. Really starting to get sheared up incredibly. Actually, it doesn't look like anything like a tropical system anymore, as a trough basically is troughing in over here around New Zealand, and all that's shearing this off and putting a lot of dry air inflow into the system. So nothing really left over and expected out of this one, but as this system starts to work its way towards this, it will get more shear into it, and once it starts working down its way down far south here, it'll get sheared up more and start to get more disorganized. But right now, though, the system over the next 24 hours for Zelia definitely going to be reaching max intensity here. Let's zoom in on this satellite image. It'll show you that well-defined eye. Now, this morning around 21 to 22 Zulu was very defined. Actually, in the first few frames, you can see that in here, that eye. Last several frames starting to get a little bit drier and flow from the north here. This is just temporarily still expecting this to continue to intensify over the next 24 hours, maxing out right around 95, possibly even up to 100 knots. No one's really forecasting that high officially yet, but the way it's looking right now with the low amount of wind shear and still high sea surface temperatures here, definitely getting that very well organization. And aloft, though, very good outflow. Basically, you can see in the northern periphery here a lot of outflow bands, even in the southern periphery here. If you look at microwave imagery, the bending is very well defined. Showing the most recent from the AM sub microwave imagery right in here, actually the defined eye still centrally located right in here. Now this is showing rain bands and basically the amount of precipation aloft in the atmosphere throughout this entire region, and just showing the southern periphery has the higher amount here, but you still have this heavy banding out here. This is the most recent image, but actually if you look at some of the more higher detail ones, they're actually about 12 hours old. You can also really see this. But this one, the eye wall, is a very well noticeable right in here, just located. Northern periphery at this time, about 12 hours ago, was the side that had much more convection with it. But the thing I really want to note with this is the overall banding and all that inflow, feeding more moisture and more heat into the center of this system. And lastly, one of the most recent visible sat shots here, about an hour ago, showing still that low-level clouding rate in here, visible much better for these low-level clouds, kind of taking out that cirrus effect. But overall, though, definitely showing the organization rate in here. Still an eye very evident here. You are seeing that inflow of dry air along the northern periphery, but once this kind of wraps around, I'm thinking that dry air is going to get cut off here. So definitely still seeing some more organization. So I think the big topic of concern for everybody is, where is this going to go? Is it going to head towards Queensland? Is it actually going to hit New Caledonia? Well, right now, actually looking like it's going to thread the needle. So let's take a walk around the about 3 different agencies warning on this system right now. And we're going to start with JTWC. That's a Joint Typhoon Warning Center out of Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. Currently showing 85 knots, gusting up to 105 knots. They're expecting the system to max out the morning of the 17th, so tomorrow morning, right around in this location, south of Noumea, actually looking at approximately 250 nautical miles south of Noumea at that time, with winds of 95, gusting up to 115 knots. So still a very strong system, but the difference with this system, as opposed to Vania, which moved through the area not too long ago, is that it's moving very fast to the southeast, 1, and 2, the winds around the system are not as far stretched out to the east and the west as Vania was. Vania actually had tropical storm force winds being reported from about this region all the way out to this region, so several hundred miles across. Well, here only about 200 nautical miles across, especially the typhoon equivalent strength winds in the center of this system, only about 50 to 100 nautical miles across. It's actually pretty strong, but that core of winds is actually going to remain relatively close to the center of the storm. And now moving on to Meteo France, that's the agency that warns for New Caledonia, showing this system CPing the island about the approximately same time, but the track is slightly to the south. Now, this is one reason why I like to show the different agencies and not rely just on one, is because These tracks do slightly differ, and I think basically they all do have the same general concept. It is following this trough towards the south, all following some of the major models. They're all pointing in this general direction as well, but the main thing I want to know with this one is that they're showing slightly farther out towards the south here than JTWC. And lastly, the Bureau of Meteorology from Australia also warning on this system as well. Here, basically the same exact track as the two other agencies, kind of right in the middle through here. Also showing its closest proximity to Noumea on the morning of the 17th rate in this region. One thing I do want to note here is though they have this red extending farther out towards the right here, or actually towards the left of the storm. This is just in showing that the winds are going to be extending out farther in that direction. That's one thing I like about the Bureau of Meteorology's warning here. They do have that wind shield a little bit off on one side instead of JTWC actually showing a basically a symmetrical storm. These guys are kind of taking in the effect that the storm will be slowly transiting to a subtropical through here. Now, the good news is that the storm is moving away from Australia. It's not going to be affecting it at all. If anything, it's actually sucking up some of the moisture here near the coastal areas, so could be producing less moisture. There is still some troughing. Basically, the monsoonal trough here in northern Queensland that's still bringing down some precipitation. But actually, if you go to Weather or Nut here on YouTube, if this is where you're watching it, he has a pretty good update, some pretty updates on that flooding in Australia. I don't really want to touch that because I don't know too much about it. Basically, just following these tropics here in the southern hemisphere, and not really the most expertise on forecasting the southern hemisphere here as well. So actually, here's the second part of my update. I'm going to move up to the northern hemisphere currently here in the Northwest Pac, where we continue to see this cold surge here, very evident with all these open cell cumulus across much of Japan, all the way down towards Taiwan here. All this open cell Q is really indicating that very strong northerly winds. Actually, winds being reported up near about 40, even gusts up to 50 knots here in Okinawa. And even as far south towards the southern Philippines, gale force winds in effect right there. What this is causing, though, is over Visayas here, definitely still seeing a very high amount of precipitation over the central PI here, even down as far as Borneo with the southern extent of this cold surge rate through here. So that's really the big topic of concern out here in the West Pac. Is this cold surge, very cooler temperature and a high amount of precip over here in the southern PI. And here just showing from JMA's morning analysis here, showing this area of low pressure moving on towards the northeast, the Siberian high ridging in here in this very tight gradient throughout this entire area out in the East China Seas where they're producing those strong winds. But basically that's extending as far south as northern Luzon, and that's the big topic of weather here for today in the Northwest. But that's all for today, everybody. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, as usual, you can post in the comment box towards the right, or if you're watching us on YouTube, put in the comment box below. But if that's all for today, everybody stay safe out there. I'm also posting this at storm2k.org if you want to get any more information on these particular storms we talked about today. Plenty of thread there and plenty of scientific and meteorological discussion on those storms as well. So hope everybody has a great day, stay safe, and I'll have another tomorrow.